All right, everybody, welcome in Season 3, Episode 19 of the Swishlist Podcast. We have so much to talk about today, all about the NBA. We're going to start the pod by breaking down who we think is going to win MVP and how we feel about the 65-game rule. Who's the best team in the NBA right now? And does strength of schedule matter for who the best team is going to be at the end of the season? We talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, whether or not Lu Dort is a dirty player. We do not agree. The Thunder playoff rotation. Do the Atlanta Hawks have the most athletic backcourt in the league? One-on-one matchups, point guard Mount Rushmore. We break down a fun stat, an interesting stat about Tim Duncan. So stick around for the end of the pod for that one. But we'll jump right in. Rhoman, we got a lot of guys who have not played the full season. We got a lot of guys who, based on the rest that they normally get, will not meet the 65-game requirement. Those names, SGA, Jokic, Giannis is already out of contention, Wemby. You have to put an Anthony Edwards in the mix. This leaves names like Cade Cunningham, Jalen Brown, Jalen Brunson as names for who could win MVP. Rhoman, who do you believe is going to win MVP, and how do you feel about the 65-game rule?
I think there's a clear top dog for MVP. We're looking at a possible back-to-back. It's going to be SGA. As of right now, I don't think anybody competes besides Jokic. But like we've mentioned, Jokic has one more game before he's out of contention. Just the injuries have been too much. The pace of play is too high for players to even meet 65, it seems like now. But if you can't meet that requirement, you're not going to get MVP. So we have a top dog in SGA, and then unfortunately Jokic is going to be out of that mix. Cade is creeping up in that conversation. The Pistons are the best team in the NBA. He is anchoring that entire offense with Jalen Duren really helping on the back end of it. But Cade has put himself in there for that second. He's going to be that runner-up, I believe, by the end of the season. And then if there was a third spot, I think Brunson has just kind of stayed consistent, and I haven't seen too much out of him that has put his name in the conversation. It seems like we're having the same year as last year. I expected them to be the 2 seed, but saying the 2 seed, we know exactly who the 2 seed is. It's the Boston Celtics. But the unexpected Jalen Brown has come out and overperformed over anybody else in that Eastern Conference besides maybe the Pistons. But yeah, he's put his name in, and I think he finishes third in MVP voting because they don't have Jason Tatum. It has been a crazy overperforming season, and I think narrative matters when it comes to the MVP award, and that's exactly the type of player that Jalen Brown has been this season. So my MVP ladder goes SGA wins it, Cade Cunningham comes in second, and then Jalen Brown is that third spot.
I just don't want to see anybody put an asterisk next to the MVP this year. If anything happens to SGA and he no longer is able to meet the requirement, Jokic doesn't meet the requirement. So if Luka gets injured again, he doesn't meet the requirement. All of a sudden, you've got Jalen Brown winning, and in 10 or 15 years, somebody's going to show a graphic of Jalen Brown, who had an incredible season, and then they're going to show Jokic with Wilt numbers right next to him. And I just don't want to discredit these guys. And I think what's hard is in the dead ball era, you had a lot more players playing 75 to 82 games. But in this era, you don't. And so I don't know if I hate the 65-game rule or if 65 just isn't the number. Maybe it's 62. Maybe it's 60. I'm not quite sure what the answer is at this point. But I just don't want these. NBA fans love to do comparisons. We love to compare eras, even though we say we shouldn't and players say you shouldn't. We still do it. And it's just going to get really difficult when you look at the hardware that these guys in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s were able to stack up. And then you have players today that already are not winning as many titles individually that now won't have some of the individual accolades to go along with it, like first team All-NBA. I mean, go look at Tim Duncan's run. Look at how many first team, second team All-NBAs he had. I mean, it's basically his entire career. And so you compare that with guys that don't meet the minimum, and it shifts the narrative a little bit.
I agree. I think we're going to go into an era where hopefully the accolades are going to matter a little bit less. If we see, I saw a post talking about Norman Powell could possibly make a third team All-NBA, which no knock to him, but I mean, we used to have seasons a few years ago where even LeBron is making third team All-NBA, you know? So there's a shift, especially with the minimum amount of games. So I think we might be going into an era where playoffs is going to matter more than any sort of accolades, where and finals MVP matters more than an MVP because it showed the real story of the season, who actually was top dog, which would be beautiful. We're making the middle of the season matter in terms of winning games, but the accolades come from the playoffs.
So with that in mind, who's the best team in basketball right now?
Well, I think you have a clear top two. I think you could either go the OKC route or the Pistons route. For me, I'm going to go with the tried and true team, OKC. I think they have plenty of depth. They have the leader in the MVP. And I say tried and true because we know what this team has done. They went out and won a championship, and they haven't lost anybody. All their key pieces are still there. It's the easy pick, but it's the right pick. If there's any team that going into the playoffs looks like they have the best shot at winning a championship, it is 100% OKC for me.
I think you're wrong. Genuinely. I think you have to take the records out of it, and you got to look at a team that beats the best teams. And I look at the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs smoked Detroit. And Wemby didn't even play very well for, it felt like, 2.5 quarters on the offensive end. They have beaten the Thunder 3-1. They have the best record against the top teams in the NBA. And so when they play the best, they play at their best and they win those games. Not to mention, you look at some of these teams that have the worst record. Like Boston, for example, has one of the worst records against top talent. And so it immediately eliminates some of those names. I look at San Antonio and the fact that Wemby truly has been unguardable. It's just it's a make or miss game for him. It's not anybody can take him out of the game. It's just whether or not he's hitting threes and hitting his shots. But I look at San Antonio. I know they lost to the Knicks just barely, but they're the hottest team in the league at 9-1 in their last 10. They beat the best teams. It feels like they want those matchups. I don't know how you can put a team ahead of San Antonio right now.
I think it's a good pick. Can't even say that youth is a fault to a team anymore. We saw it last year with OKC. It seems like the Pistons and the Spurs are that new era. You have the depth. You have the pace of play matches because these guys are so young. They're able to do it. You have your three-point shooting, your role players. You have your grit and grind guys, like 3 top dogs. I should have included San Antonio. You're right. They're up there. My only thing is when I think of, 2 teams that sometimes have bad games, like Cade, I think missed 15 straight shots in the second half one time. And then Wemby versus the Raptors, he got shut down by another young guy. Like, it's just, I don't know. I feel like we get into a playoff series and we might see some bad series from these 2 top dogs. I don't think we see that from SGA. He's just too consistent. So that's why it's my pick going in late into the regular season into the playoffs.
Okay. So I was looking at a fun indicator for how the last 20 games of the season are going to play out. That indicator is strength of schedule. If you're a Denver Nuggets fan, it might be time to get a little nervous. I know you're talking about Oklahoma City and how good they are. You might want to be a little bit nervous. Same if you're a Boston fan. The 5 teams with the most difficult strength of schedule going through the end of the season are the Denver Nuggets at number 1, Dallas at number 2, Minnesota at 3, Boston at 4, Oklahoma City at 5. Rhoman, you don't find San Antonio in the top 10. They sit at 11. You've got the Lakers at 21, New York and Detroit at 24 and 25, and the Cleveland Cavaliers at 29. And Cleveland is ascending. Now, I don't necessarily think, Detroit being at 25, I don't think Cleveland's going to surpass Detroit. That's not what I'm saying. But there are a couple of standouts. Listen to this 6-game stretch for the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets play the Lakers, the Knicks, the Thunder, Rockets, Spurs, Lakers again, and the 76ers. That's just the upcoming stretch of basketball that they have to play. They also have to play the Spurs 2 more times and the Thunder after that, right? So they're going to close the season out playing the Thunder and the Spurs. So there's no rest for these guys. If they're not careful, they might end up as the 6th seed and the Lakers leapfrog them. Then you transition over to the East. Cleveland has a legitimate path to the 2 seed. Boston's sitting at the 2 seed right now, but they struggle against top teams, and that's who they're going to be playing through the end of the year. You very well may see James Harden come in and cement Cleveland as the 2 seed, passing the Knicks and passing Boston. So I'm curious if you're a fan of any of these teams. I'm a Timberwolves fan, so I get a little nervous where they're sitting right now in the 4 spot and they have a difficult schedule. Where do they end up? There could still be some movement happening in both of these conferences.
That's what I love towards the end of the year. You get such close matchups, especially with seeding. It's always like that 2 through 7 seed, depending on what conference it is, that it's going to be super close. And what makes it so good is every single matchup is going to be great because whoever ends up as that 7 seed or 6 seed might have a 2-game difference between the 3 seed. So we're going to get to see great playoff matchups. And I think this is why sometimes we see people talk about the 1 seed had such an easy path to the finals. People talk about that with the Celtics when they won their championship. Same thing with the Nuggets. And that's what you compete for. You compete for that 1 seed so that you do have the easiest path. That's why you're the number 1 seed in your conference, to have that easiest route. But yeah, it makes it so interesting because the 7 seed, if the Nuggets do end up having a bad run towards the end of the season, could be competing with the Suns for a play-in spot or something like that because the strength of schedule is so tough. So yeah, I mean, we've seen it in recent years. That 2-7 seed with the Lakers and the Nuggets, even though the Nuggets did destroy them, it was really close. Like, the Lakers were leading in the series in points, but the Nuggets would just close out every game. And those are the series that I like to see. It's just close matchups all around. So I'm excited for what we get in both conferences, but the Western Conference looks like it's going to be an absolute movie.
I don't know what happens if we see San Antonio clear Oklahoma City. Just the run that they had early, and if San Antonio is able to steal the 1 seed late in the year just because the Thunder have a brutal run, all of a sudden Denver beats the Thunder second to last game of the year, and then Wemby has to beat Jokic in order to get the 1 seed, it would be absolute cinema for a regular season game going into the postseason. So I'm hoping that we see it. I want to talk about the Thunder a little bit more. We saw yet another example of Lu Dort with a dirty play away from the ball, this time against Jokic. Jokic wasn't having it. He never does. If you try and pull something on him, he rages pretty hard. But I have a really hard time watching guys like Lu Dort. I struggle with guys that are just dirty players. And I think at this point, this guy's a dirty player. We saw what he tried to do to Wemby earlier in the year. We've seen what he's done to Jokic, Paul George. We've seen what he's done to Luka Doncic. The list goes on and on. John Morant, of these top players, he's a dirty player when he plays against these guys. And I think it's one thing if you're a defensive player and you let somebody know you're there, right? They try to set a screen on you. You give them a little bit of an elbow. You make your presence felt in the paint if you need to. But there's a difference between physical play and physicality in basketball and Lu Dort, who's a dirty player. I don't like watching guys like this play basketball. It feels like he can't help himself. He has to punch guys in the nuts. I just can't stand watching it. Am I off base on this? Tell me where I'm at.
No, you're not off base. It's completely true. He's crossed the line a few times within recent years. It seems like we're getting more to away from the ball plays, running over to Jokic, stopping, trying to take his legs out. He did the same thing with Wemby. But I feel like a championship team, you kind of have to have this type of guy. Alex Caruso does his thing on the defensive end. He's a hustler. But Lu Dort is kind of that agitator. And if it comes with a dirty play every once in a while, that's what happens in basketball. I think a championship team needs a guy like this. They need some feuds. So I don't hate it. I think it is bad for basketball, especially in the regular season. But in the playoffs, things get intense. Guys take shots at other guys. And if it's Lu Dort who already has that mentality and is already in that headspace, you might see something happen that causes a fight. And the narrative is there, so I'm not completely mad at it.
Yeah, I just look at what Boston did, their title run. They did it. Felt like they played clean basketball. Feels like you easily can play clean basketball. You do not have to go to this extent. You shouldn't be trying to hurt people, especially out of the play. And for anybody that wants to come to Lu Dort's defense, you give me 3 players that are in the league today that have a longer low light reel than Lu Dort hurting NBA players. You can't.
Draymond Green, Isaiah Stewart was the third player. No, Lu Dort's top 3. He got to be top 3.
He's top 3 and he's not 3. Okay, here's another thing that's interesting about the Thunder. The Thunder right now, I think they might have the deepest roster in the NBA. They are rolling out 16 players playing over 10 minutes, 12 over 18 and a half. We know what happens in the postseason. In the postseason, these teams, their rosters, they shrink, right? The roster goes down to an 8-man rotation, a 9-man rotation. Rhoman, Jalen Williams is still out of the lineup. AJ Mitchell's still out of the lineup. Who's not going to play for Oklahoma City?
Yeah, this is where it gets rough. I mean, it's a good luxury to have for a team, but some players just have to end up not playing. And with OKC, I mean, the only difference here is that I think you're going to add players. Like you said, a regular playoff team is an 8 to 9 man rotation. But even last year, I think OKC was a 10-man rotation. So I think Mark Daigneault is not going to be switching anything up. The only guys that I think are getting cut from this rotation are probably the young guys. Jared McCain won't be there. But when I think about guys that you have to play, depending on who starts, Cason Wallace has been doing really good. Jalen Williams coming off of his injury, not sure where they're going to throw him in the mix of starting or coming off the bench. But you'll probably see, SGA, Cason Wallace, Lu Dort, Chet, Hartenstein, and then off your bench, you have Jalen Williams, if he's coming off an injury going into the playoffs. The other Jalen Williams, then you have Aaron Wiggins, you have AJ Mitchell, who started off the season really good, and then Alex Caruso is still there. You have to play Alex Caruso. We were talking about him earlier. You can't just not play Alex Caruso. So right there is 10 players. So I think you have to cut a Jared McCain. Topic is probably not going to get time in the playoffs. It's just too minimal. And then I'm assuming I'm missing somebody.
Rhoman, that means you cut Isiah Joe. You just cut their 3-point shooter.
Okay, so there it is. Yeah, so it's 10 to 11 guys. You don't cut Isiah Joe. I can't believe I even missed him. So you end up with an 11-man rotation. But we've seen this from the Thunder throughout the season. Like you said, 13 to 15 guys playing and playing a lot of minutes. So even Kenrich Williams doesn't even make that rotation. So it's just too much wealth for them, and it's not going to get distributed evenly. So cuts will be made, and I think it's going to depend on who's playing good too. But yeah, you may see an 11-man rotation from this OKC team.
It is wild that Jalen Williams, widely considered last year a top 25 NBA player, has sat so much of this season, and they have been so dominant. And some of their worst stretches was when they were trying to reintegrate him into basketball, into the lineup. So it's going to be interesting to watch for the Thunder. It really will be. This is the only thing that we have as a potential chink in the armor when they when they get into the postseason. So fun to watch. Really, really fun to watch. There's only two other teams, in my opinion, that even come close to the level of depth that the Thunder have. One being Detroit, the other being San Antonio. All similar roster construction. You have one elite player, a handful of fringe all-star level players, and just a quality roster of all-around talent and role players that fill in the spots. And you look at any one of those teams, and it's difficult to figure out who is not going to get minutes come the postseason.
I point to the Pistons a lot. I really like what they've done with their roster, but the depth with that team is unbelievable. The main thing that we see with these top teams is they can have suspensions, they can have injuries, and it does not matter who is playing. You're still going to get the same production. Like even games where Cade has sat, like you still get that production from the team. When Duran isn't playing, you have Isaiah Stewart, who's coming off the bench and playing really good. Even when both centers are out because of their suspension, Paul Reed comes off the bench and does really good.
He's been good.
Duncan Robinson gets some starter minutes. Tobias Harris is still there. Karis LeVert, Ron Holland. There's so much depth to the Pistons. Again, you have a 10-man, 11-man potential roster going to the playoffs, and I think that leads to success.
I think it's easy to find the Spurs 9-man roster, especially after they move off of Jeremy Sohan, right? You go Fox, Vassell, Castle, Wembanyama, Champagnie, Barnes, Keldon Johnson, Dylan Harper, and Luke Cornett. And that's essentially what their roster is going to be. That's a solid 9-man rotation right there. Solid.
Very solid.
Moving away from the top teams and talking about just some interesting basketball, the Atlanta Hawks, Kuminga has been hooping. He's averaging over 20 a game in his last 3 games with the Hawks, and they are smoking teams right now. Here's my question. Are Kuminga and Jalen Johnson the most athletic duo in the league right now?
Oh, I mean, yes. The only other duo that I could possibly think that just pure athleticism, maybe the Pistons. I think you have a Thompson twin there with, I think Cade Cunningham goes underrated as an athletic player, chase down blocks, posters. He's up there, but I don't know. I mean, Jalen Johnson's a power forward at 6'10", who has a 40-inch vertical.
Yeah.
And then, Kuminga is 6'6", plays the power forward just because of how athletic he is and the way that he moves. And yeah, I think he goes underrated just because he wasn't getting minutes with the Warriors. But yeah, I don't know if there's another starting duo. I think maybe even your team, you could maybe point to Ant and Jaden McDaniels. Like they're pretty athletic too, but no, those two just pure athleticism. I don't know if anybody beats those two.
Yeah, it's like maybe Wemby and Castle, but also Wemby's so tall, it just makes him look less athletic, even though he's insane. But I'll tell you what, if you're playing the Atlanta Hawks, someone's getting dunked on. Someone is getting put on a poster. Like they are going to put up a highlight every single night. They're going to be in the top 10 plays every single night. That's just what these players are capable of. Jalen Johnson looks like an NBA 2K player when he takes off. He's just like dribbling and then he's skywalking for the dunk. And Kuminga is absolutely insane. So it's true to Hawks basketball, where you look at Dominique Wilkins and then you look at Josh Smith, just some of these high flyers that have played for this franchise. It's like we're back to that type of basketball. And I'm excited for the future of Atlanta based on the picks that they've been able to acquire. And they have a really, really fun core. Kuminga is so young. Jalen is still young. And so to see what these guys are able to do and they put together an offseason together, I'm excited. I think it's going to be, they're a fun team to watch. If you are an Atlanta Hawks fan, you are getting highlights every single home game, and that's a fact.
We might be in a new Lob City era in Atlanta, so I'm excited to see what we get over the next few years. Happy for Kuminga because, like you said, I mean, he's only, 22, 23, so man, that future might be bright in Atlanta. Good move by them.
Talking about a guy that just, I don't understand if the lights are maybe too bright in LA, but DeAndre Ayton goes out and says, they're trying to make me Clint Capela. You know what, Ayton? Maybe you should be more like Clint Capela. Averaging 8 rebounds a game is kind of ridiculous. To me, it's a bit of a joke, the fact that the Lakers have had to work so hard to keep this guy motivated when you get the chance to play with Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, LeBron James. You're the starting center for the LA Lakers, and you have a problem with rolling to the dunker spot, scoring 15 a game and grabbing 13 boards. Like, honestly, Clint Capela might be a better option today than you are today.
If Clint Capela was on this Lakers team, he would be putting up exactly the same or better statistics for this Lakers team. I don't know what kind of diss we were going for there, but DeAndre Ayton is not like a major skill guy. He doesn't have a mid-range game. He doesn't have a three-pointer. He has a float game. This was disrespectful to Clint Capela. It wasn't disrespectful to you. Like, Clint Capela in his prime, I think of Rockets Clint Capela with James Harden. I think of Atlanta Clint Capela with Trae Young. He was one of the best pure centers in the NBA. I mean, I think with Atlanta when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, he got the rebounding title. He averaged over 14 rebounds a game and close to 15 points. I don't know what his goal was with saying that. And Clint Capela clapped back and was like, why am I included here? Clint Capela had incredible seasons. And I think if you're looking at the Lakers, they would want 100% take 2020, 2021 Clint Capela over what DeAndre Ayton is producing for them right now. I know Ayton has been a 10-plus rebound per game guy for the Suns. They did it with the Trailblazers too. But, man, we've gotten away from that. You yourself have gotten away from that. So hopefully this was just a motivator for himself to try and get out of whatever slump it's been on the rebounding end and having some bad scoring nights. But yeah, that was kind of embarrassing to say because when I think of prime Clint Capela, I think of him as a better player than what DeAndre Ayton is.
Yeah, Ayton is just such a strange player. I will say I do think he has a better range game than you give him credit for. He has really, really good touch. He's just not willing to do the dirty work at the position where it feels like a requirement. He won't go to the dunker spot. In a pick and roll situation, I feel like he wants to pick and sit or pick and pop more in the mid range, which leaves his defender still in a double on Luka. So Luka doesn't get maximum value out of that pick and roll. And so he has all the tools to be great. But like he refuses to dunk the ball so often when he's at the rim, right? He just wants to go for the lay-ins. That was kind of one of the knocks on him when he was in Phoenix. And so he's this number one pick who just strangely is not motivated to be great. And it is so challenging. And this is what everybody was afraid of when he first came to LA, which is, well, it's just more of the same. It's just more guys that are not willing to take the challenge on the defensive end. It's more guys that are not willing to do the dirty work on the offensive end. And so, you know what, Ayton? Let me send you a highlight reel of Clint Capela and take some notes. You might want to incorporate some of that into your game.
Yeah, you 100% need to. If you're showing a lack of effort for your team, I don't know why you're trying to compare yourself to any player who's averaged 14 plus boards. Like you're not in that category right now, especially starting center for the Lakers. It comes with some publicity, it comes with some coverage, and you have to be willing to accept that. You were a number one pick, my guy. So even saying that they're trying to turn you into Clint Capela means you are underperforming, my friend. Let's go ahead and switch this up. Let's use this as motivation. It's kind of pissing me off that he's doing that. All right. Mo, I have got some players gaining skills. 2 players. I want you to tell me what player has more of an impact, more of a difference on the game. So Shaq gets Hakeem's footwork or Larry Bird gets LeBron's athleticism?
Okay, I mean, Larry Bird, if he doesn't have the back injuries and he is LeBron athletic in the 80s going into the 90s, he might shut down Michael Jordan. Are you kidding me? With his mentality and with the roster that he had, I think you easily have to say Larry Bird with LeBron's athleticism. I think Shaq still has the same mentality, even if he gets Hakeem's footwork, which is he's an awesome player, but like the question was always his commitment long term and his ability to take care of his body. You don't have those concerns with Larry Bird if you give him LeBron James athleticism already with his 3-point shooting in that era, the defensive player that he was in that era. He might not even be in the same conversation with Magic Johnson. He might just be above Magic Johnson. Like they're not equals anymore. He's just better. He's just the best guy for a decade and a half. So I easily have to take Larry Bird. What, am I wrong?
No, I mean, at Larry Bird's peak, it was 3 straight MVPs and a finals appearance, it seems, every single year. So if he was to have the longevity and athleticism of LeBron James, I don't know if Magic Johnson even gets mentioned in a conversation in the 80s, I'm going to be honest with you. So I don't think that's the wrong pick. You got it right there. That would have been the greatest player of all time. If that happens, that's basically just making Larry Bird black. And we already have so many players telling stories about how Larry Bird was as a player. So if you give him more athleticism than what he had, man, would that be a crazy player. Okay, on to the next one. I have Steph gets Magic's size or Tim Duncan gets Dirk's 3-ball.
Oh, okay. I know that if you made Steph 6'8", he's insane. But I just want to talk about how good Tim Duncan was. He's one Ray Allen 3-pointer away from being 6-0 in the finals, right? The legendary Michael Jordan stat. Tim Duncan's right there. You give him a 3-ball in the Spurs offense with Manu and with Tony Parker and with all of the pieces that they had around them over the course of how many years they played together. Tim Duncan probably wins 7 or 8 championships just off of that one skill addition alone. It extends the back half of his career. So I have to take Tim Duncan. And I know there's some Steph fans out there that are going to say I'm crazy, but guys, this man walked into the league, first team all NBA, walked into the league, second team all defense, second year, first team all defense. Like this guy is the epitome of dominance in a post-2000 era of basketball. To take Tim Duncan here.
Yeah, I think it's the correct pick. I think Steph getting Magic size just makes him a better player, but we still see Steph do incredible things. But with Tim Duncan expanding that Spurs offense and being able to shoot a 3-ball like Dirk Nowitzki, I mean, that just exponentially rises that Spurs team. We may not see another team win a championship in the 2000s. So, yeah, I don't think it's the wrong pick. If Dirk gets a 3-ball, that's, again, he already is the greatest power forward of all time, and he doesn't even have a 3-ball. So if he gains that, no, shut it down. Okay, moving on. I've got one-on-one matchups, and we've got Legends editions this time. So just some of the greats of all time. First matchup, I got Magic versus LeBron.
This is LeBron James. That's not a question.
No question there. Yep, good answer. Kobe versus Jordan.
Yeah, I go Michael Jordan here. Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time. not to be confused with the best all time, but the greatest peak of all time. I think he's more athletic than Kobe. I think Kobe has a better outside game, but I'm taking the teacher, not the student. Give me MJ.
Okay. Then we got Larry Bird versus Kevin Durant.
This is tough because I don't want to disrespect the legend. And Larry Bird, I think his one-on-one game is underrated. But we're still talking about 7-foot Kevin Durant, 4-time scoring champion Kevin Durant. I'm going to give it to KD.
Okay. We got at the 4 matchup, I got Giannis versus Tim Duncan.
Okay, so this gets interesting because the play styles are so different. I think this is a matchup you and I both would want to watch. I'm going to go Tim Duncan here, and I'll tell you why. Giannis doesn't have the benefit of the fast break. He doesn't have the benefit of getting the ball at half court and just getting a full head of steam on his way to the basket, especially if it's 3 dribbles or 5 dribbles. Tim Duncan has go-to spots and moves that I think could guarantee him more points than Giannis does. I think that Giannis relies a lot more on his athleticism and kind of what the defense gives him to score, where Tim Duncan is fade away off the glass is impeccable. His post work is impeccable. I think in a one-on-one setting, he's going to win that. And he's an incredible defender as well. Not to say that Giannis isn't, but both sides of the ball, I'm going to go Tim Duncan.
Okay. And then 5 matchup, Shaq versus Jokic.
This is Shaquille O'Neal. We're taking away one of Jokic's best skills, being his ability to pass the ball, right? It's a one-on-one setting. Shaq is 50 pounds heavier. He's taller. He's more aggressive. And I could see him just dunking the ball almost every single time. So this is easily Shaq for me.
Yeah, I was toying with this one a little bit, but after thinking about it a little bit more, Jokic is able to back players down and get his inside buckets because you cannot double team him off of the passing threat. But if it is strictly one-on-one, I think you are correct that Shaq is just going to play bully ball because it's Shaq.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, is like Shaq had great post work as well, right? So even in a situation where he's not able to get to the dunk, don't get it twisted. He had a post game and he's still going to be a problem. Like Jokic, can he score at all 3 levels? Absolutely. But I think he's going to miss more shots than Shaq's going to miss dunks. So it still goes Shaq for me. I agree.
Got him.
I will say Jokic is such a good passer. He probably finds a way to throw a lob and Jamal Murray just catches it and dunks it. In a one-on-one.
Let me say, Jamal Murray is probably one of the most clutch shot makers I've ever seen. I mean, we saw it recently when they played, I think it was actually last night when they played the Timberwolves. And they ended up losing, but the man hit 3 straight threes to just kind of keep them in the game as they're playing the free throw game with the Timberwolves. But it just reminded me that Jamal Murray is one of the clutchest late game shot makers that I've ever seen. Don't even get me started if he's playing the Lakers, but yeah, the tough shots that this guy makes, no matter the situation, that when it's not Jokic putting up his late quarter threes or end of shot clock threes, like Jamal Murray goes really underrated as a clutch scorer.
He's so good in the clutch that nobody gets mad at Jokic for not shooting those shots. Jamal will shoot the shot, and we don't say anything about Jokic. He can shoot contested threes, open threes. He's got that. It's not a step back, but it's like a pull back mid-range shot that he has. Contested layups. He dunked on Rudy Gobert last night. Like, he truly is an incredible player. Here's my question. Who's a better player? Is it playoff Jamal Murray, or is it just Jamal Murray against the Lakers?
Oh, it's 100% Jamal against the Lakers. He's competing with Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan for that last second shot for me if he's playing against the Lakers. It seems like no matter what look he's getting, it's probably going in. I don't care if Anthony Davis is guarding him. Martian beam pointed against the sun. I want Jamal Murray with that last second shot.
I feel like I remember the Kevin Garnett segment where we didn't give a F about LeBron. We weren't scared of him at all. I feel like Jamal Murray feels the same way. I'm not afraid of LeBron. Now it's, 37, 38, 40-year-old LeBron. It's not 24-year-old LeBron, but still, I feel like Jamal Murray is not afraid of LeBron at all. And we're going to hear about it in the future.
Yeah, it's going to be like 20 years from now. You're going to see them going on podcasts and Jamal Murray's going to be like, nah, Bron was too old at that point. We knew we could beat him. It was a first-round exit every year. We knew it was going to happen. Which is kind of crazy to say, but I mean, it's the truth, isn't it? All right. We got a point guard Mount Rushmore. My issue with the point guard Mount Rushmore is I feel like you have a clear top 2, But then this is where the discrepancy happens. It starts to get to preference. But let me give you some of the names. Obviously, you have Magic and Steph. But then you go into Oscar Robertson, John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Jerry West, Gary Payton. These are just all the top dogs. And I feel like it's so difficult when you get to those bottom two of your Mount Rushmore. Where do you sit with it?
This is tough. I think you're gonna have to help me a little bit. I agree with you. Steph is there, Magic's there. Those are the two that are there, no question. I think stuff gets interesting. People probably would have put Oscar Robertson in there more before we saw Russell Westbrook do what he did over and over and over again. And so I feel like it kind of cancels them both out, even though Oscar was able to win the title. I think Isaiah Thomas takes that third spot for me. And the conversation really becomes, who do you put in the fourth position?
Yeah, it's a rough one because this is where I think you take your pure point guard. I think IT is the right pick. He has 2 championships. The mentality is there. I think
Yeah.
he's the defensive point guard that also wins a couple championships. Like, he's the right type of player to put on this Mount Rushmore. I think he gets it just over Gary Payton just because he wins. And then the next one is the pure point guard. You have John Stockton, you have Jason Kidd, you have Chris Paul, you have Steve Nash. Really, just where do you want to go with this type of player? For me, I'm going to take the accolades. I think this player gets discredited because, some people talk about the fake statistics and he never wins a championship, but top dog is top dog. The stats are there. So my pick is John Stockton. Nobody's getting that assist record. Nobody's getting that steals record. So I think he deserves that final spot for being the true point guard.
I just don't see it. I think there are point guards that dominated their era more or were just better players. Like John just was never able to win the big one. I think I value a championship more than what John was able to do just because he holds 2 longevity records. I look at a guy like Jason Kidd. I understand that he's third after Chris Paul's passed him on steals and assists. But what he was able to do that both of those other guys were not is win a championship. He has a championship, and he also led that Nets team to a finals appearance. So this man went to the finals multiple times, just like Stockton did, and he wins a ring. Does Chris Paul get more steals and assists? Absolutely. But does Chris Paul lead a team to a championship? No, he does not. 1 finals appearance, and that was a loss. So for me, and this might just be because I watched him. That was my era of basketball that I was watching when I was growing up. But I just feel like I value what Jason Kidd was able to do and the fact that he was able to climb Mount Everest and walk away with the title more than just leading in a statistical category.
Fair. I think there's a little recency bias there, but as somebody
Probably.
who didn't have much watching of John Stockton, from the stories that I've heard and what I've been told, I'm giving the pure point guard the top spot.
Let us know your point guard Mount Rushmore. Rhoman, I'm not going to lie. I think most people are probably going to side with you.
Probably. I think Russ is going to get thrown in there a lot for
Absolutely.
people. And
Yeah.
Chris Paul gets mentions from a lot of people as well. It's a difficult one. I think it's the most difficult one of all of them if you're talking about potential guys that could go on there because the point guard position has so many different archetypes. Moses, which accolade has more impact? KD winning 4 scoring titles or Rudy Gobert winning 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards?
This is easily Kevin Durant's 4 scoring titles. Rhoman, there's only a couple of names that have more scoring titles than Kevin Durant. And I think because MJ wins 10, it kind of dwarfs how special it is that KD has 4. Wilt Chamberlain has 7, MJ has 10, KD has 4. It's absolutely incredible. Kevin Durant is unstoppable on the offensive end. He's guaranteed to score his 24 to 28 a game. Nobody can really stop him. Even to this day, I don't think anybody over the course of the rest of his career will ever be able to stop this man from scoring 20 points. He is incredibly efficient. He can shoot from anywhere. He can score in any way. He is one of the all-time greatest threats in NBA history on the offensive end. And then when I go look at Rudy Gobert, I just think about how many times Rudy Gobert has been taken out of the game. Guys like James Harden eviscerated Gobert and their number 1 defense. The fact that even though they were able to win as many regular season games as they did, we never saw the Jazz go on a late game playoff series because anytime he played against a top guard, they would get destroyed. And so I think about how many times Steph Curry has made Gobert dance, how many times Chris Paul had Gobert dancing. The man's got an all-time low light reel of him getting dunked on and crossed over repeatedly. So when I look at all-time best defenders, guys that have 4 Defensive Player of the Years, Ben Wallace to me was more impactful. Dikembe Mutombo second, Rudy Gobert at third.
It's a good point. Valid. I think of those playoff runs with Rudy Gobert, and I can see Terrence Mann going for 40 points as a rookie because he's being guarded by Rudy Gobert when they go small ball. And then we see what happens in the playoffs when he gets to the Timberwolves and they have to play, Luka in the playoffs, and he just annihilates Rudy Gobert in the pick and roll. So, yeah, I think you got it there.
Go watch how he plays against Jokic. Jokic feasts.
I watched it live. The man had a 40-point triple-double against him.
Embiid feasts. Wemby will actually put up big-time buckets on it too. So it's not even just the guards. Like the bigs actually put major buckets on this guy all the time. Rhoman, listen, I know y'all forgot about Antawn Jamison. This guy was a bucket for a decade and a half plus. He was awesome for the Wizards, fantastic for Golden State. I mean, he scored over 20,000 career points, and for the vast majority of his career, averages over 20 a game. 2-time All-Star, 6th Man of the Year. What's funny is you probably forgot him because you didn't know how to spell his name.
Yeah, the story goes that at the hospital in Louisiana, they spelled his name wrong on the birth certificate, and they just didn't switch it. This is exactly like the Dwayne Wade situation, where Dwayne Wade's name is spelled Dwayne Wade, but they just kept it. And in doing so, Antawn Jamison actually spelled his son's name the correct way to kind of combat what happened. So we got a unique name. I thought we were saying Antoine's name wrong for so long, but apparently nope, it's just spelled wrong.
A lot of the LeBron haters that are out there, this is a name that you got to point to when you talk about the help that LeBron had in Cleveland the first time. Antawn was a legitimate player. When he pairs up with LeBron James in Cleveland, there were expectations they were going to be even better than they ended up being. He was the type of guy that was a quality stretch 4, could shoot the ball, and just all around good human being. Antawn Jamison, not Antawn Jamison. Put some respect on his name.
For real. I think about, his time with the Wizards, and they were a good team. That Warriors team, another solid team. And then with that Cavs team, that's the best Cavs team that they've seen in history. That's that 66-win team. So a guy who goes underrated, and you may not have completely forgot about him, but you probably forgot about the impact that he had on a lot of the teams he played with.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Now, Rhoman, you mentioned the Wizards. I feel like this has to be said. Tim Duncan in his career since the year 2000 has well over 900 career wins. Just an incredible player. He retired 10 years ago. Rhoman, the Washington Wizards still don't even have 900 wins since the year 2000. They might have to play until 2030 before they get more wins than Tim Duncan. If you're a Wizards fan, oh my gosh, you must be one of the most loyal people on planet Earth, because this is brutal.
Wait, this is actually kind of crazy to me. Like Tim's been retired for 10 years now, and the Wizards still don't have more wins than since 2000.
They do not have more regular season wins than Tim Duncan since the year 2000.
How many winning seasons do they even have over the course since 2000? How many winning seasons would that even be?
7. They have 7 winning seasons since the year 2000, and they have a couple of seasons where they literally went 500. And so you can't give those. You can't put those in the win column. So you have 7 winning seasons since the year 2000. Just rough.
Yeah, so Tim Duncan passed that by 2007.
Yeah, yep. Pretty much.
That's a wild stat. That man has more wins than the entire franchise. That's really cool. That's a funny one. It makes me think of a recent one. It's just unbelievable but true. Tyrese Maxey is now the all-time leader in three-pointers for the 76ers. Already. This guy's only been there for 6 years. It just shows that what different type of basketball we're playing today. Like he did it in almost half the games that it took Allen Iverson. And Allen Iverson was a threat from the three-point line. He was inefficient, but he was a threat from the three-point line. So I think this is just showing the type of game that we're playing today. Tyrese Maxey breaks the record by hitting 5 threes in the first quarter. And nobody talks about that. But if that would have happened in the 2000s, it would have been like somebody hit 5 threes in the first quarter. Are you kidding me? So just a shout out to Maxey, but it just feels wrong to know that Tyrese Maxey's already the all-time leading three-pointer for the 76ers.
We just can't look at the 3-pointers made stat anymore. Like, it's a stat that has no relevance. Capela is going on a run where he might pass Steph Curry by the end of his career. And that in and of itself, no disrespect to Con, but like, I just think it doesn't hold up. We have to laugh at it and keep it pushing.
Yeah, it's setting a precedent. I think we're going to see this with just about every franchise. You're going to have a random role player or a young guy who's been there for 5 years who ends up beating an all-time great in 3-pointers. Like, another franchise is probably going to be like the Bucks, which is probably what Michael Redd. The Bulls, which is probably Zach LaVine now, I think. So, yeah, it's going to be a weird record 10 years from now who leads in 3-pointers on every team.
That's a good one. Rhoman, this was a fun episode. There's a lot of people that message me. I don't know if they reach out to you, but they listen to the pod, and this is kind of where they get updates on Extracted. For anybody that doesn't know, Rhoman, he is currently on season 2 of Extracted. Airs Monday nights on Fox, Tuesdays next day on Hulu. He is still in the mix, 5 episodes in. Episode 6 comes out. We're recording this Monday morning, March 2nd, so it comes out tonight. But Rhoman, in the last episode that I got to see, you lose your blanket. It's one of the coldest nights so far in the entire show. And there you are, freezing cold. I have 2 questions for you. The first, take me to that moment. Like, what was going through your mind after you lose the blanket? And second, how was it watching how that actually went down now that you've gotten to see the episode?
Well, going into it, I kind of had shifted my mental to look at any kind of negative thing like that in a positive way. I viewed it as, okay, I'm going to be done with this eventually, and I'll be able to look back on this and just know that I went through some tough things. So bring on all the challenges that we can possibly have, whether it be good or bad. So I looked at this as, man, I'm going to go through some hard nights, but I'm going to look back and be proud of myself for what I did. So I tried to spin the negative thing into a positive light, which I think helped me. But the genuine emotion at the time, knowing that I was going to be freezing that night, kind of terrified. Like, just throughout the day, they showed the clip of me being like, man, it's chilly, because that day it had got windy. I had woke up and my feet were really cold, even though I still had the blanket. Like, everybody just knew. You just could kind of tell from being out there for 10 days that it was going to be a really cold night. So production definitely knew what they were doing, trying to steal some things. And it's also just kind of cool to see, like, knowing that I was, one of the top dogs that people that we're trying to take from, knowing that, yeah, Rhoman's doing good out there. We got to take something away from this kid because I don't want to be up against him in the end. So it's cool to look back and see that people were threatened by me, and it felt like that they had to do something to me in order to make sure that I wasn't going to have, an easy route to the end. So that was cool to see. And then what was the other question?
Okay, what's difficult for me is obviously those girls, they're in an alliance. And the whole episode, they're like, we're going to go after Polly and we're going to go after Luke. Polly and Luke, Polly and Luke, Polly and Luke. And then they have the opportunity to steal. Luke is sitting right there. Feels like he's got a 6-foot fire every single episode, doing just fine. And they just randomly, they go, you know what? Let's steal a blanket from Rhoman. I'll tell you, my wife and I, we were pissed. We saw that and we were like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Because we haven't eaten a dirt sandwich, feels like, for 4 straight episodes. And now we're going to lose a blanket too, just because we caught a freaking fish. You kidding me? So what was it like when you watched how it happened?
Yeah, it's cool because I only know from the perspective of mom in Dallas, like, telling me the things that happened throughout the time. And I just know my perspective. So I'm just sitting there and they tell me a supply crate is coming. And I'm like, let's go. We're going to get something good. It's getting cold tonight. Give me something more. And then I open it and it's, sorry, you're losing something. You don't get to have a blanket tonight. You don't get to have covers. So I go to bed and it's, hands between my legs, laying in the fetal position. And it's just such a cool thing to know that people were targeting me, and to have that feeling while watching, seeing it, that moment of the breakdown of how it happened. Because from my perspective, I figured that my family had done something bad or lost a challenge to get me to lose this.
Yeah.
So to know that it was like, no, we're going to take something away from you because you're doing so good makes me feel a lot better. Because in my eyes, I'm not doing good out there. I feel like I'm doing terrible out there because, I caught a couple fish, but I'm coming off the raft challenge.
Yeah.
I had just lost. So my mental is terrible. So to watch it unfold and know that it was, no, Rhoman, you're doing too good. So we're taking something away from you. It's an incredible thing to watch.
Okay, listen, I have to ask you a question that I feel like no one talks about. Especially because I know you. Rhoman, obviously you're walking around all day, every day. Mom and Dallas are watching you. A bunch of complete strangers are watching you on a screen all day long. Rhoman, it just means like, how do you fart? Like, how, I'm telling you, like, bro, like you're just out there. Wait a minute. Could you imagine just mom and Dallas are just sitting in HQ watching, all of a sudden they just, they're just like chatting, whatever. Somebody just farts on these screen.
Okay, so going into it, this is the issue is I didn't really think about the fact that everybody could hear me. Like I just viewed it as my mom and my brother could hear me. So to me, I don't really care if they hear me fart. You can ask my mother. I fart in front of her all the time. But like I don't even know. Looking back on it, I truly think that I wasn't eating enough food to be farting. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not consuming enough food for that to be an issue for me. But if I ever had to, I was definitely, trying to talk over a fart. That's for sure. I was definitely, as it was happening.
I need to get in the water or something.
But that's a good question. I would love to ask my fellow survivalists because at this point, nothing's too personal. I mean, we went through some things out there and everybody got to see everything. So I would love to ask everybody else what happened to them.
Well, it's like you guys are sleeping, right? And there's plenty of times at HQ, they're just watching you sleep, because there's like the bear sounds and stuff like that in the night. And they're just like chilling. They're just watching you guys sleep. I don't know what time you went to bed, probably when the sun goes down, right? That's not very late. And so you can't control everything when you're sleeping. You know what I mean?
And those mics pick up everything.
They do. I just think there was somebody, there's some editor somewhere in the world that their job was to edit out every single fart and extracted. What a brutal job. There's some audio guy that's like, all right, this is pretty good. Okay. All right. Well, can't use this. Like, that's the kind of stuff I think of when I'm watching the episode, like the seasons. I'm just like, man, I can't imagine, dude. I can't imagine.
Yeah, they have too much footage. I do not envy the person who has to go through all of that and edit it. It's 24/7, y'all, and we're just in the wild. So all of our thoughts and emotions and everything that happens, like a fart or going to the bathroom, there's footage of it somewhere. So somebody's got to go through all of that. Oh, I hadn't even thought about that, bro. There's too much out there. Somebody knows way too much about me.
Somebody does, dude. Somebody does. Somebody is watching the season play out and they're like, this guy, dude. This guy.
I saw a comment somewhere and they were talking about how there's so much footage and what you see is actually not how these people are. Like RJ, all they talk about is that he's complaining about his knee and about the pain, but that's not really his story. And who else? Like Katie was really talkative, but she's a really positive person. Summer is sometimes comes off as like the pageant lady, but she's actually really strong. Same thing with Luke. Like he's not getting too many clips, but really talkative, strong person. Everybody else
his brothers are taking all the clips.
Yeah, they are. And like his brothers were playing a game, but they are genuinely good people. It's just they're playing a game. And the one comment that I saw about me was Rhoman is exactly who he is. So yeah, apparently I'm just the guy who takes videos of woodpeckers and it's just Mr. Positivity. So
bro's gonna become a bird watcher. Now we know how you really are, Rhoman. We know how you really are. Listen, so my in-laws are watching the show and I see them, every month. And they're just like, man, your brother just seems like such a good guy. He feels like such a good kid. We really like Rhoman. It's just fun getting to know your family like this. Yeah, he's all right. He's all right. He's all right.
Yeah, you're like, don't boast him up too much. I've seen this guy do some terrible things.
Okay, to be fair, anybody listening, I have not seen my brother actually do any terrible things. He really is actually a good dude. So what you're seeing is pretty on brand for his character. He is a genuine, all around good guy.
Yeah, I watch it and I'm like, yeah, this isn't everything that I did, but I'm like, that is kind of exactly what I was doing out there. Like, the only thing that they're missing is me singing, dancing, and talking about basketball, but it's a survival show. They're not going to include that. They want the drama. So it's pretty accurate besides what Rhoman talks about, but Rhoman's actions are shown exactly correct.
Okay, I have one suggestion for Extracted. They need to run bloopers in the credits, the end credits. I feel like you should be playing the funniest moments in the credits, especially when somebody goes home. You just run like a reel of just like the funny stuff that happened while they were out there, just like random thoughts. They slip on a log, like just this goofy stuff, you know? I think that would actually be hilarious.
They could take so many avenues.
Yeah.
Saddest moments, funniest moments. There is so much footage that you could do this with every person, every episode, every storyline. I know it. The other survivalists know it. Some of our best moments so far are not even shown. So, I mean, you have to cut footage. There's thousands of hours of it, but I agree. There should be highlight tapes. We should be getting more funny moments. Yeah, so maybe they just need to give us all the footage. We got a pretty good editor. To my left, I can do some of the editing too. Would love to get the opportunity to show people what really happened out there in the bigger scheme of things. So Fox, send me that footage. Let's get it going. Let's get some bloopers going for real.
And with that, we'll close out season 3, episode 19 of the Swishlist Podcast. This was a fun one. We are excited. Listen, you're going to see some of the best basketball games of the entire year over the next 4 weeks. So please, every single time you turn the TV on, you might have to go to 12 channels and 5 different streaming networks to find the game. But when you do, you're in for 2.5 hours of incredible basketball just about every single night. So stick with the NBA, stick with us. We'll be covering all of it. Rhoman, send us off.
We are towards the end. 20 games left in the regular season. It's starting to heat up. If there's any time to pay attention, it's now. If there's any time to know your ball knowledge, it's now. So you should be tuning into the Swishlist Podcast. If you're not, it's getting ridiculous. It's really getting ridiculous. We are on all your favorite platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, we are there. Swishlist Podcast, Season 3, Episode 19. We are out.